Hey, this is Dr. Marisa, women's hormone expert, author, and the host of the Essentially You podcast. And today, we're talking about the 5 big benefits of the powerhouse hormone, cortisol. Now, this is part of my Powerhouse Hormone series where we dive deep into the most important hormones of the body. I've already covered progesterone, testosterone, and estrogen if you want to go back and listen. And I'm going to be covering many more because I believe that knowledge is power when it comes to knowing our bodies, and we deserve to know what these hormones are doing for us. So without further ado, let's dive into one of the most important hormones in the body, cortisol. Now, what's the first thing that comes to mind to you when you hear the word cortisol? Now, if you just thought stress and overwhelm, you are on the right track. But that's just part of the picture. There is a common misconception that stress creates a flood of cortisol and it acts as some kind of enemy inside of the body. That's simply not true. Cortisol, also called hydrocortisone, it's actually your best friend, but it just gets a bad rap when it's overused. And it's often driven by lifestyle habits. Let's take a closer look at what that exactly means. Now, cortisol is a steroid hormone that is made by your adrenal glands, which sits on top of your kidneys like little hats. Now, when the adrenal glands release cortisol, it travels through the blood throughout the entire body, impacting every single cell. Yes, every cell contains cortisol receptors. So its effects are varied and far-reaching because it's one of the most critical universal hormones in the body. Now, it's the body's primary stress hormone. And when it works, cortisol surges and we respond in a fight or flight fashion. So anytime we perceive danger, our stress response system fires up. We go into sympathetic dominance mode, and man, we increase blood pressure and our heart rate. Our muscles get tense and we drive more glucose to the muscles. Our digestive system comes to a halt. And in severe cases, we can get nauseated and even vomit. Now, the effects of a cortisol dump can be downright scary, especially if you don't feel it coming on or it doesn't happen very often to you. But you should also know that when we do get that big surge of cortisol, norepinephrine and epinephrine, and even adrenaline, we see better, we run faster from danger, we can lift crazy heavy objects, we protect and defend ourselves and our loved ones, and we can perform otherwise impossible survival tasks and techniques. Basically, in the short term, this is truly one of our superhero hormones because it helps to give us like superhero strength and stamina so that we can overcome whatever obstacle is in our way. But if we live in a very high stress, fight or flight state for too long, over time, we can burn out our entire body. We can deregulate cortisol levels, and we can make that stress response system just overfire and fire and fire, even at the smallest things, which can really create chaos in the body. So some symptoms of chronically high cortisol levels include weight gain and stubborn belly fat, anxiety, depression, fatigue, GI issues like constipation, bloating, and diarrhea, headaches and migraines, heart disease, especially palpitations, high blood pressure, irritability, problems with memory and concentration, crazy cravings, reproductive issues like low libido, irregular menstrual cycles, and ovulation, like you can have anovulatory cycles because of too much stress, sleep issues, especially that mental chatter so you can't go to sleep, and a slow recovery from exercise. Like you just burn out super quick from exercise when you've got chronically elevated cortisol levels. And having too little, which happens over time. So you can have chronically elevated cortisol levels initially when you're dealing with too much chronic stress, but then over time, the body just kind of gets used to that and it down regulates cortisol, which leads to low levels of cortisol. And so I consider a more significant, burnout, more significant fatigue and chronic fatigue is when you've got low levels of cortisol. This also goes to weight gain, chronic fatigue, dizziness. You could also see darkening scars or skin creases like in the elbows, armpits, and knees, muscle weakness, GI problems, loss of appetite, low blood pressure, and mood swings. So that's when things get severely worse. However, what most people don't realize is that we do in fact need cortisol flowing even when we're not stressed. And having a healthy level of cortisol is super imperative to our overall health, wellness, and longevity. Now, there are two kinds of cortisol benefits, those related to fight or flight mode and those that are not related to fight or flight mode. So let's talk a little bit about the fight or flight response, known as the sympathetic response mode. So it's important that we have this, especially when we need it, right? If there's truly an emergency, we are having to run away from something scary, or we got in a car accident, or something's happening to our child, like we need to be able to adrenaline up, right? Pretty hard. So it's important, the benefits of releasing glucose to supply immediate energy to our large muscles, like our quads and our hamstrings, super important. Inhibit digestion, so glucose will be available and not stored. Narrowing the arteries, so blood pumps harder and faster to the heart and the large muscles and the lungs, so we can run faster, move faster, pick up things that are heavier. And then for non-fight or flight benefits, controlling salt and water balance, acting as an anti-inflammatory, helping memory formation, helping immune system support, helping to wake us up every single morning. It's called the cortisol awakening response. Like every day from you getting out of bed to like moving in the morning is the cortisol awakening response. Making mitochondria is a precursor from cortisol, which helps to boost energy levels, regulating blood pressure, regulating growth, and really modulating the stress response system so that it doesn't topple us over, right? Those are some of the biggest benefits. And honestly, these are things that we need to function every single day. Now, you're probably wondering how to boost adrenal function and how to balance cortisol levels naturally. Isn't that the $1 million question? Because when I was struggling with low cortisol, 10 years ago, I was looking to really heal this part of my body. Now, this is probably one of the reasons why I've created a lot of nutraceuticals and supplements around supporting cortisol and the stress response system, because so many of us are struggling with it. So one of my best-selling supplements, Adrenal Love, is a phenomenal solution. I actually take Adrenal Love every single day because I'm a recovering stressaholic and I'm a recovering cortisol deregulation system. Like my body, it's quicker to go into deregulation than most because it has been deregulated. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's kind of like once your hormones have been deregulated, you got to really work to keep them maintained. So I take Adrenal Love all the time, and it is a line of rockstar adaptogens and nutrients designed to support healthy cortisol levels and lessen the burden on your adrenals and to help support your mitochondria so that you can get more energy, your body can function better, and your hormones can get back into homeostasis. So Adrenal Love includes American ginseng, ashwagandha, rhodiola, just to name a few, and they all work to not only address the stress response system in the brain, particularly in the limbic system, but also the adrenals too. It's important that a supplement includes B vitamins, vitamin C, and other nutrients. So my Adrenal Love has those to help overcome fatigue and to really feel like you can take on everyday tasks without feeling stressed and overwhelmed and burdened. So if you do love these tips, I'm going to have a link for Adrenal Love inside of the show notes, but also be sure to subscribe for more easy tips to heal your hormones and upgrade your health and to learn more about your super hormones inside of your body. Until the next episode, have an amazing day.